It is Saturday morning. Usually I try to sleep in, but today I'm going to be heading to the Bellingham shop, and so yeah, come along for the ride. All right, we are in or out. I had a couple phone calls this morning. One of the franchisees was having a problem, but we are in or out to the Bellingham shop. We're going to knock out some of these mows. They're a little bit behind. It's in peak season for us. I haven't mowed lawns in over a year now. So it's good to just kind of hop back in sometimes and help out. And this week we had a pretty important meeting at the Bellingham shop, and I think sometimes it's just best to lead by example, hop in and help. So not really making a big deal of it, just kind of hopping in here for the day and gonna help them with some of the jobs. All right, this is what we have to work with today. This is one of our newer trucks, P13. Has the ramp rack. Let's get it. All right, so this is actually the storage box where I actually keep the mowers. A lot of people ask us where we put the mowers at night. So we put them in these 40x8 storage containers. They're shipping containers from China, but it's actually cheaper to get them, leave them in the US than it is to ship them back empty back to China sometimes. All right, so we're at our first job. It's actually commercial property here. We don't do a lot of commercial, but yeah, H&R Block here and things. And we don't do a lot of commercial, just small stuff usually. And in this regard, we're not even doing any mowing today. We're just doing a bunch of weeding, and we blow off all these walkways. There's no grass here. So I think a couple times a year we'll trim the bushes and things, but really just kind of blowing everything off, cleaning things up. We gotta blow out the AC units. We gotta blow these out inside of here, just get the leaves out of there. But yeah, we do these once a month. So this one's pretty straightforward. All right, so I'm gonna try to do a bit of a voiceover throughout the times when I'm blowing things off, weed whacking, mowing, stuff like that. So I had some questions coming via YouTube. But this property here, I had 2 budgeted hours, and so $160, like it said in the video there, per visit. So we really make sure it looks really, really good. We don't do a lot of commercial at Augusta. We really do focus more on residential, but these small commercial ones, we can still charge our premium price. Gotta pick up the trash. I guess I was proud of the fact that I found a NOS bottle. But yeah, so we don't do a lot of these, but again, some property managers, they see the value in our service where we answer the phone, we are professional, etc., especially around more high-end properties. If this had like 3 acres of lawn, there's just no way we'd be in the ballpark of reality in terms of price, just because we're going to be using a push mower and our competition is going to be using a 60 or 72-inch zero turn. So a couple of the questions that came in on the YouTube, some people asked who makes the trimmer and backpack racks on the truck. So we use the ones from trailerracks.com, and our franchisees get a discount with them. They're the ones that are green. You can get them painted, I'd imagine. The thing I don't like about them is they do fade in color quite a bit. So even the ones on this truck are about a year old, and you can see like they're a paler green versus when you first get them, they're like a nice, bold, darker green. So you'll see the trailer racks here just a second on the truck itself. Here I'm trying to blow, it's technically the neighbor's property, but trying to blow it off. So yeah, these are the racks here. These ones actually don't look too bad yet, but again, these are, I guess this is the one truck we bought in this spring. So they still look pretty good. But again, after like a year, 2 years, they start to fade, and not really as much of a fan of those. So when it comes to these little commercial ones, there is no lawn in this one, like I said, and so it's a lot of weeding, blowing things off. And this rake right here, what's called a leaf rake or tine rake, depending on who you talk to, I love this thing. It just kind of turns the mulch over, makes it look fresh and new. So even though here I'm not pulling any weeds, and this place is basically weed free in that section behind the gate, it was really a matter of just like trying to make it look fresh by using that leaf rake. Someone asked what was our process for training new hires. For example, on a day like this that you're watching, this would be a great time to take a new hire along with me and train them. And we don't necessarily have videos. We don't do anything like that. We basically have a checklist of things they need to get done, and they start at the most simple. So for example, I would show them what I'm doing right now, installing trimmer line, but I probably wouldn't do that the first day. The first day they might literally just use the blower, and then day 2 they use the weed whacker, and then in that process the person training them would be showing them how to do the spool of line. Doing spool of line is one of those weird things in lawn care that is oddly satisfying after not doing lawn care for a whole year. So right here, I'm using the weed whacker to basically get the weeds out of the curb, or sorry, the cracks of the asphalt. And this is a great thing to do. One thing I gotta keep in mind is across the street there is a little, there's a shed and a garage. You gotta be careful of the rocks that are spitting out, especially on asphalt. So you see there, a lot of people will keep their throttle at about half speed or even less on the weed whacker to prevent any sort of gravel or little stones being kicked up, hitting garages, hitting even worse, windows, and making any damages. So here I'm pulling weeds. Of course, yes, the Home Depot 5-gallon bucket is dented on the side, but hey, it stands up and it works great. It's easier than hauling one around one of those big 55-gallon brute bins around. So you can see I'm pulling out a lot of dandelions. Again, those are pretty mature weeds because we only come here once a month. I know in some climates you couldn't even get away with that unless you put some sort of pre-emergent down in the beds. This stuff here is called kinnikinick, that kind of ground cover there. It's a very woody type of plant, and what weeds can grow like through it. So you can see here, it takes me quite a bit of time. I'm just literally digging through and trying to get as many weeds as possible, but really they just break off because you can't get all the way down to the roots many times. This is out next to the road, trying to get more of the weeds. All right, this job site, we're in this alleyway, and this is when it's really nice to have a trailer set up because it'd be very difficult otherwise to get a big trailer in here. There's nowhere really to park. So small areas that are downtown like this are great for trailer setup. All right, so someone asked if we create a contract. On these lawns, we do not. For example, even that commercial property come once a month, year-round. I guess theoretically you'd say it's kind of like a contract, but we just change the services that we offer each time, even though it's the same price. Whereas 99% of our properties, I'd say 98% of our properties at the local shop, we do not have contracts. It's the per-cut price. So this property here is out next to the road. A lot of the properties on my route today aren't like high-end. You're not going to be like wowed by how nice they look. These are definitely lettered streets. These are downtown. These are small properties, and they're not full service. They're just literally just mow, blow, and go properties. And it's great for this type of a trailer setup for these smaller properties where you can still make money, be efficient, and some people are like, oh, I'm not going to take anything but full service. As soon as you open yourself up to full service, there's a lot more complexity. You got to get timing of fertilization, and you got timing of when the weeds are pulled, and the timing of when the bushes are done, and there's more room for error in those categories. Whereas this is really, really simple stuff. So this one, for example, I had 34 minutes budgeted for mowing, 23 minutes budgeted for getting the weeds out of the flower beds, and there was not very many weeds. Honestly, it said knock the weeds down, so just using the weed whacker line. On this one, I have 34. I'm going to add this up, so I have 57 minutes. So I can assume pretty much that I made $75 on this property because we charge an hourly rate of $80 on a mow route. And even if it's weeding, we still charge $80 because we have all the equipment, we have all the trucks there, and so we charge the $80 per hour. The one thing, the mower I'm using today is a 30-inch 30X mark. So this is the X version, which means that the Kohler, which is a little more powerful of an engine than the Kawasaki that he had prior to this year. The one thing I don't like about it is the fact that the bagger is pretty wide and doesn't fit into when I'm dumping out the clippings, you'll see I can't push that down into the clippings and kind of compact them down because the bag is just too wide. This is the ramp rack system that we use for our trailer setups. You can see it extends the back of the truck by about 2 or 3 feet. I'd say almost 3 feet, honestly. See right there, when I dump the clippings, like it just spills because I can't compact them. I can't shove them down into the, compact them more. But that's the trailer, the ramp rack, and then here I'm getting my blower out. But you can see the one thing about the ramp rack that's a little bit annoying is the fact that it's so tall in the back there. Some of you wonder how we lock in our mower in the back here. It's actually just this thing we made custom. Caleb made it at our shop. He welded together like this little bracket that holds this wheel in place so it stays locked on the back end of the ramp. A lot of people wonder why I hop out once in a while and mow, and they say, well, you should be selling franchises or helping the franchisees or something like that. And I think the biggest thing for me, oh, whoops, someone's coming down the alley. Thank you. I think the biggest thing for me is I think the biggest thing I fear as we grow Augusta is the ability to connect with the guys in the front and cultural drift as a whole. And so I don't think that, my place as a leader and our place as we grow our business is to about be on the field all the time. But I do feel it's very, very wrong and detrimental to lose connection and feeling for the guys out in the field. I think it's really, really bad. In any organization, if the leader becomes disconnected from the frontline people in the organization, it's just never good. And so, to know what it feels like to have a really long, stressful week and then ask to be out mowing on a Saturday for the guys, it's important that we know what that feels like and not forget what that feels like. It's good for them to see it, and it's good for us just to feel like this is a really stressful week. And so, to go out on a Saturday and work is good. It's good to know what it feels like for the guys when you ask them to do the same thing every single day. Okay, this next property is actually several duplexes. All these properties, there's 6 different homes, or 6 different addresses, I should say. But today we're just weeding, which is weird. The grass has grown a bunch already in a week, but only is weeding today. Grass has been growing crazy throughout May. It could really use a mowing, but I looked back at the job history on their profile, and sure enough, they only have been doing bi-weekly mowing. See, this is another kind of part of town where having a trailer set up makes a lot of sense, because you have no space. If someone's driving this way, it's impossible to get by. There's nowhere to park your truck and trailer. If you have a big long trailer, really the only place to park is in the driveways of the client. So again, this is why we have the trailer set up for routes like this. All right, this is our next property right here. It's a little bit overgrown. Supposedly here in the backyard, we're supposed to look for an alleyway. Yeah, this one has some serious growth. Yeah, in the back alleyway, we got weeds that we got knocked down. So this property I've never actually been to before. The other ones I'd been to before, because we've had them for several years. However, this one, the reason I was walking in the back before even getting the start on the mowing and weed whacking is because it had a note on our app that said there was weeds in the back alleyway that we need to make sure we knock them down. So that's why I was walking back there. This property right here, I have 40 minutes budgeted, or $50 is what we charge on this one. It's a bi-weekly cut. We do not like bi-weekly mows. We actually now, on our estimates, we require that during the months of March, April, and May, the person has to do weekly service, just because it's just so hard for scheduling purposes and messes everybody up. So this lawn is, in our area, would be considered basically overgrown. There's grass here between 6 and 12 inches tall, definitely. So that being said, I got this job done in about 33 minutes still, and it's because it's just such a small property. The whole lawn area is literally only about 2,500 square feet. I think I'll talk about that here in just a second, about our minimum price. But a lot of people ask about, on the questions, how to deal with customers that have a bunch of dog poop, and this one did. I didn't actually talk about it in the video, but there was one area where there's a whole bunch of dog poop up against the house in the front yard there. And what we do is we put a tag on the user's profile in our CRM, and then we have an automation that when that property is dispatched the night before, we're going to send them an email saying, hey, your property is going to be serviced tomorrow. Please pick up the dog droppings. And if they don't, then eventually we just have to drop them as a client, because it's just the worst thing to be weed whacking like I am now and hitting dog poop and just splattering all over your face, especially if it's your first job in the morning. It's the morning dew, it's all over you. That's just horrible. And so this job, like I said, $40, and it is definitely going to be, $50, 40 minutes. Now, you can see here, I am using the 30-inch mower. I'm doing it in a time lapse. You'll see in a second just how slow I'm walking, because it's just so long. The one thing about the X-Mark or any 30-inch mower that has 2 blades, you got to make sure you walk a little bit slower in the heavy tall grass, because otherwise it will leave a bit of a strip down the middle between the blades of the kind of dropped clippings. But it did a nice cut. It just really had to walk slow. So, traditionally with the 20-inch mower, I could go a little bit faster and just not overlap, basically. But the way that the drive system thing works on these is you definitely have to slow down a bit. I was doing so good. We're 5 or 6 jobs in, and then I started to sneeze. My allergies started kicking in. This is kind of prime season for pollen. And I remember the good old days when I'd have 2 shirts. I'd bring 2 shirts with me for mowing, and I would just use the one I was wearing for a snot rag. And then when it was really bad, halfway through the day, I'd switch out to my second shirt. So, in remembrance of these good times. When it gets hot like this in the middle of the day, that's when it starts getting pretty bad. Alright, so this property is $35 per cut, and you'll see here, actually 32. You'll see here I talk about our minimum price and how you've seen a lot of these properties are very small. Alright, so this is one of our lawns in Bellingham again. It's one of our minimum lawns, so $32 is our minimum charge. So regardless of how small the lawn is, that's the minimum charge it is. So these are really small lots. There's probably about 1,500 to 2,000 square feet of lawn and turf on that property. All right, got a couple more. So this lot right here, this is the house we're about to mow now. Probably the grass is probably only about 2,500 square feet max. However, we're still gonna charge $45 per cut, even though it's by square footage, it's our minimum size property. Again, it's gonna take way longer because these hillsides are extremely steep. You can hardly tell necessarily until you stand up against them. They're extremely steep. You have to weed whack the whole thing. So again, this is the reason why we do them not by just square footage in our area. This can double, if not triple, the time it takes to do this property. We'll still knock it out pretty quick here. So like this day, I didn't necessarily work the entire day. I worked about 5 hours, 6 hours. However, traditionally, a one-man solo crew should be able to knock out 12 to 15 of these type of lawns pretty easily. If you do the math on that, if they're like say 35 or 40 bucks, that person's gonna make about $500-600 gross for the day as a solo operator. Obviously, if you had two people, we would expect them to knock out 20 plus of these type of small little lots that are close to each other, downtown, using the trailer setup. You can park right next to them. A lot of people were asking too in terms of, you know, seeing the efficiencies of us mowing. And one thing I'll try to do in the future is try to show more of a real time of us getting to the job site, unloading, etc. One thing to keep in note, and this, I know for some of you more experienced, this is common knowledge, but make sure your stripes are going to and from the road or wherever people are. That's where they're actually viewed and look the best. All right, well, that is the conclusion of the day. I'm gonna hook up my keys on the keyboard here. Still got a couple guys out. Charlie, Mitchell, and Kent, they're still out because they're awesome. David's here today, and he does all of the cleanup of all the trucks and everything on Saturdays. Lee put a cool quote here from Jocko Willink up on the board. So yeah, this is Saturday, wrapping things up. We'll see you guys tomorrow.